join me. Now, last time we were all together, I was working on coding a variable star simulation. And I'm pretty sure that I got it like 99% of the way done. So I'm going to pull that up in a minute and take a look at it. But before I do that, do any of y'all have any questions for me? How's life out in the world? This is one of those times where I really hate the lag that we have in the feed between when I ask a question and when you potentially answer the question. So I sit and I wait and I look and feel slightly foolish while I wait and I look. Thank you, Christian Holtamer, for the follow on Twitch. I appreciate that. And I'm currently opening up my Twitch dashboard, and it turns out I talk slowly when I'm trying to type and talk at once. How do you get a 200 metric ton payload to not wobble itself to death? Very carefully. Hold on. To low corbel orbit. That's probably a bit more challenging because the gravity is so different. Hey, keeper of maps. In general, I'd say you just have to make sure everything is completely symmetric and very well secured with lots of stabilization. I will be in Tokyo on Saturday. I am home for a very small window of time. I flew home on Sunday, where I inadvertently had all manner of bad things occur. And then, so got back Sunday. I'm home yesterday, today, tomorrow. Then Thursday, I have a 6-something in the morning flight. And I go from here to LAX to Tokyo to a city I can't pronounce in Japan, where I'll be attending an astronomy conference. Hey, Fenmil, thank you so much. You're fabulous. I am stupidly happy. Thank you. You totally bought the office lunch. That will probably actually end up happening tomorrow because Lord only knows I haven't really gone grocery shopping today. I'm a horrible human. I ate all of my students' candy today. I would wander by and grab a handful of Starburst and wander back and grab some more Starburst. So yes, thank you, Fenmil. You made tomorrow much happier, and I will probably replenish the candy I stole. Anyways, thank you, Commander Unifex. Are you the person down in New Zealand? I think you are. I hope you are. My blood sugar is definitely off. Any of you who just watched Astronomy Cast while we did a live recording know that I am far more caffeinated than normal while also being sleep deprived. Hey, Nancy, welcome. And I'm so glad to have you join us, friend from New Zealand. Welcome, Clive Warner. I see the welcome. I'm not seeing the human yet. So we actually at our CosmoQuest offices. Okay, Gold, I just didn't want to out you if you didn't want to be outed. We get Nature Box. They are not a sponsor. This is me honestly just trying not to kill my staff. So we get Nature Box. So we mostly get healthy snacks for the office on a monthly basis. But then candy happens. And Big J, who some of you know from other feeds, periodically buys Starburst. And it turns out that Starburst and corn chips are my kryptonite to not grazing and munching in the office. So yes, you now know far more about me than you intended to know, perhaps. So I flew home Sunday. I fly out Thursday. I'm currently trying to figure out how to deal with something that caused me a bit of a headache while I was in Israel. I carry my recording equipment with me. I'm looking to see if I can reach it from here. So this is my travel kit, and in it, I have all the things I need to do to remotely record. I have still packed, not yet unpacked. You may recognize Skycam, except Skycam is not attached to his monitor, not his monitor, to his arm. So I have Skycam, so I have a high resolution camera that I travel with. I have all of the cables and battery packs and everything I need. I have, looking for the zipper on my bag, I have all of the random dongles and things that I need for different parts of the world. I swap those out depending on where I'm going. And I have my Zoom audio recorder. Now, it starts out in its plastic. And when you take it out, it's just an audio recorder. Now, the problem is, this audio recorder apparently looks like a taser. In the United States, I've gotten used to, I pull out this particular bag, I unzip it, I put it on the thing, it goes through the thing, and I have TSA pre, and they start out saying, you don't need to remove anything. And I'm like, no, you're going to stop me anyways. I'm going to just slow things down. So in the US, fine. Last time I went through Heathrow, I got stopped and I almost missed my connection in Heathrow because it took them 20 minutes to get through all of the people that got shuffled to the side and then look at my audio recorder and go, it's an audio recorder. And for me to go, yes, it's an audio recorder. And then I got sent on my way. Now, London Heathrow is a big airport, but they speak my language. And it's a country that has lots of audio recorders. And so it was fine. Well, flying to Israel, going through Amman, because I flew St. Louis to Chicago, Chicago to Amman, Amman to Tel Aviv. When I went through the first time in Amman, they pulled out my audio recorder. They had 4 different guys look at it, and they waved me through, and it was fine. It took 3 to 5 minutes, but it was fine. Coming home, I'm going through security, and they pull out my audio recorder, and the world stops. The guy looks at it, looks at me, looks at it, takes my passport, pulls over 3 more guys, and they're looking it over, flipping it around, and I'm trying to explain it's an audio recorder. It records sound, which was apparently the wrong set of words to use. So I get now they have my passport. They have taken away my passport at this point. I get the go sit on that bench. And there are multiple people watching me to make sure I stay on the bench. My passport gets moved from one person to another person. It's going into suit jacket pockets. It's going into pant pockets. It's like following which walnut has the thing under it. And they're calling up, they're calling around, they're bringing in new people. They brought down someone from somewhere else, I don't know where, who spoke no English. In the end, I'm starting to like very quietly freak out because I am no longer in possession of my passport. It's now been like 30 minutes and I still have my phone. And no one at this point has told me I can't use my phone. And I look at them and I say, can I look up something on my phone? And they're watching what I'm doing. And they say yes. And I, thank God, have a Wikipedia page. And I pulled up the Wikipedia page of me and tried to explain. I record a podcast. And then they had me show them where I work on the internet. So I had to pull up the Astro Society of the Pacific's website. And they're taking pictures of my passport. And because of my Wikipedia page and being able to show them that I work in astronomy, I was eventually let through. But it was a bad day. And I did some Googling. And this is like the best audio recorder out there. And I wrote for its price. And I wrote to Zoom. And I'm like, Zoom, I have this problem. I keep getting stopped in airport security. Can I exchange my existing audio recorder for anything else you have that doesn't look like a taser? And they wrote back one line saying, no, you can't exchange your product. And I don't know what to do going to Japan. And I'm considering like finding the web page for Zoom in Japanese or translating it into Japanese or something I haven't figured out yet. So I'm going to be recording in Japan. I am in fact giving a workshop on podcasting with Aviva Yamani, who's the producer of 365 Days of Astronomy. I can't mail it ahead because it's too late. It's just too late. I'm thinking of checking my luggage, which I would normally never, ever do for an international trip because that's just asking for your luggage to get lost. But I'm just not sure what else I can do. I think, Keeper of Maps, your idea is close, but I think I have to have the label explaining what the recorder is in the language of wherever it is I'm going. And yeah, sticking it in my luggage is totally an answer if I check my luggage, but I try not to check my luggage. So yeah. This is the set of challenges I deal with. Printing the user manual out in Japanese, that is an excellent idea. Yeah, I'm not, so Keeper of Maps, I need to have something more than the URL because it's quite likely the person I'm dealing with is not going to be in the mood to randomly Google what it is that's in front of them. Yeah, I still have it in the original box and everything. So, yeah, I got myself in trouble trying to come home from Israel. So there will be recording, and I am currently trying to figure this out. So Hellfire, I would not make that assumption because the people who work for airport security don't necessarily know anything about audio recording. Yeah, they probably don't know it already. No, they didn't try and use it. I honestly think they were quite afraid that it was evil. Like among the questions they asked me was, at what distance can it record audio? And like, I don't even know how to answer that. Yeah. Yeah, it was difficult. Hey, Tenro, thank you for the follow. I am transporting it in the original box. I'm hoping this trip will be fine. I'm taking everything normal. It's just a challenge. So yes, you now know I take everything with me to record. The conference I was at in Israel had no, the microphones can't be removed. No, sorry. The conference that I was at in Israel had crazy long hours. So we were going from about 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day. So recording from there didn't happen. And it was the kind of conference where you can't just like sneak off for a little bit and work from another room. Hello, person with a dark blue name I can't read on my background. Yes, Big J, that is the point. Stop making things that look like tasers. Hey, Big J, welcome. So anyways, the conference I was at in Israel wasn't the kind of conference where I could sneak off and do any streaming at any point. It was a conference about big data, about how you run deep learning algorithms to solve all sorts of crazy, awesome, amazing problems. And then what are things that we should and shouldn't do with all of the data that we get? Based on some of the things that I learned at this particular conference, I think the next thing that I'm going to be working on here on this stream is actually going to be trying to learn how to do machine learning, trying to learn how to teach software to do cool and interesting things. And if that's not what I'm working on, I'm going to be working on data visualizations of the Twitter data set that I worked on coding several months ago. At least it feels like several months ago. But with this little tiny conference, there was just one room of us. You could tell instantly if anyone stood up and left. And it was a discussion-based conference. I've never been to something like this. It was kind of cool because now the poor presenter, they're trying to present their talk and they're getting interrupted every 10 minutes by someone who's like, but wait. And we had these really cool dialogues throughout all of it. One of the really interesting problems that we talked about is you're programming a self-driving car. And you need to program the car to make difficult choices. So imagine you're going down a road, you have construction cement barricades to the left, a little kid runs out off the sidewalk to the right, and your choice is swerve to avoid the little kid and hit the cement barricade, or hit the little kid. So do you sacrifice yourself against the cement barricade, or do you kill the little kid? Hey, Hanny Sportverb, thank you for the subscription. So how do you figure out what's right and what's wrong? And do it in a way that will hold up in court when something goes wrong. Now, the way you do it is, it turns out, you put all the crazy combinations of different things that might happen up on the internet, and you ask people to vote. You ask people, what do you think is going to be the best option for this? And among the different things that they figured out, they ask people, so do you hit the person who's jaywalking, or do you hit the person who's crossing the sidewalk, crossing the crosswalk legally if the brakes on your car go out? Because you actually have to program a self-driving car to handle what goes wrong when your brakes go out. It turns out human beings will actually vote you hit the person who's jaywalking, not the person who's legally crossing at the crosswalk. So there's all these neat permutations that they have to deal with. And they posted all of these things online, did amazing surveys, and they're using the results of all of these different surveys to figure out how to program the computer to be moral in the way that humans are moral. So these are the things that we talked about at this little tiny conference. And yes, AI ethics, it hurts the brain, but it was awesome. I just didn't get any streaming done. Now, next week, I'm going to have people who want to learn how to stream. I'm going to have people who want to learn how to podcast. So I fully expect to be hopping on Twitch at completely random times from Japan, which means I'm going to be wearing all my nerdy clothes, because in Japan, cute nerdy clothes are allowed and appreciated. So I will be hopping online and teaching people how to do all the different things that I do here. I will be streaming, assuming I don't get stopped by airport security because I'm carrying an audio recorder. And I love watching everything that's currently going on in the chat. You guys are awesome to one another, and it's beautiful to watch. And yes, there is going to be machine learning. Why did the chat just reset? I'm sorry, I have no clue why my chat just reset. I apologize. But thank you for the follow, Drop Bear Antics. I'm really confused about the chat and a bit concerned about it now. You weren't naughty. It just borked. I opened up Streamlabs to see who the follow was from. Thank you, Drop Bear. And Fenmel, thank you for gifting subs to put folks. That's awesome. So yeah. I don't know what happened. They're not gone forever. They're going to be in the recording. So you'll just have to review the recording. Hi, Scotty. So anyways, that was what happened last week. That's what we talked about at the conference I was at, and it was a crazy awesome week. Yeah, that's all I've really got to say about last week. So you're now discussing the weather in chat. I am going to see if I can pull up the simulation of variable stars that I'd been working on. Yes, we can just pretend they all scrolled off the top. You're having your fourth nor'easter in New Jersey? I have to admit, I totally miss nor'easters. I am a Bostonian. I grew up experiencing these amazing storms, but 4 in a row is a few too many. And by a few, I mean 2. 2 nor'easters a winter. That is appropriate nor'eastery. But you have exceeded that by a lot. Oh man, I missed part of chat. It's over on another window. Skyly has sent you. I do stream with a telescope from time to time, Christari. We actually have a telescope system. I'm not streaming with it tonight, clearly. We have a telescope system, and we are working on setting it up. We're working on learning how to do CCD photometry. And once I'm back from Japan, getting all of that up and running is going to be one of my greatest priorities. That's the word. So stay tuned. I get back from Japan on April 1st. Now, all that said, as Big J is pointing out in the chat, me getting these telescopes, thank you Oceanside Photo and Telescope and Celestron who donated them. We cursed the weather in southern Illinois. It's like been gross outside for a long time, to the point that my dog really hates everything. And I'm laughing about the comment about a donut. Hold on. It scrolled past. Question from several people. Why do you have a donut or bagel glued to your window? Okay, let me see if I can get my camera to zoom in on that. It's a bird feeder, folks. I'm gonna knock my camera over. Okay, so that it's a stained glass bird feeder. And my office is really a mess right now. I hadn't realized how big a mess my office was until I did that. It does look like a donut wasp nest. It's actually a bird feeder made out of blue pieces of stained glass. It is basically a giant donut. You guys are hilarious. No, Japan is not the J word. The J word that we are not discussing is jet lag. I mentioned it once. We never mention jet lag again. So yes, that is that. How much Japanese do you know? I used to know enough not to make a fool of myself, but I think most of my Japanese has left my head and been replaced with Russian. Yeah. So sorry, I don't have that much Japanese. Kristari, I don't think we're neighbors because I actually live in Edwardsville. But yeah, I'm totally in the St. Louis area. And first Fridays, I'm often at the St. Louis Science Center. It's not a mess unless the paint comes out. So I've been thinking about getting the paint out just because I haven't painted in a while, but I'm not going to do that right now. Oh, I can totally see that my bird feeder probably looks like a poppy seed donut. Birds do not eat stained glass. That is true. But if I fill it with bird seed, they will occasionally hop in. They like my other bird seed better. Bird seeder better. Bird feeder better. Wow. Sorry, folks. I'm jet lagged. It's a toroid. Yes, my bird feeder is a toroid. Oh, Nancy Graziano, I think that Bill Wink will be at NEAF. Those of you who don't know what NEAF is, it's the Northeast Astronomy Forum. And before it is the Northeast Imaging and something conference, NIAC. Yes, I said the J word that is not to be mentioned. I strongly recommend, if you're in the Northeast or you have the money to go to a Total Astronomy Geek Fest, go to NEAF and NIAC. They are actually really good conferences. So Bill, you and Nancy can probably meet face to face. Oh, Big J, yes, we could totally take our telescopes to First Friday at some point. And in fact, we should consider figuring out how to join forces with the St. Louis Astronomy Club better. NEAF is quite good. The last time I went was actually the year that the unpronounceable Icelandic volcano went off. So it's been far too long since I last went, but I strongly recommend it to all of you. Now, I've been basically blathering now for 31 minutes when my original intention was to work on my variable star software. So I'm now going to try and figure out how to switch my views. And I'd like to welcome all the new people that came over tonight. I see that there's a lot more of you. I'm guessing you followed over from Astronomy Cast. Welcome, all of you. Sorry for the intermediate wrong. There we go. Wrong button switch there. So welcome everyone to this new place for so many of you. What I am pulling up now is actually software for a variable star simulation that I've been working on. And when I press play, it should, in theory, there we go, pop up my variable star. And you can watch as it expands and contracts. And it doesn't quite fit on my screen as devised. So what the simulator is doing is it's showing you against this grid of lines as my variable star expands to get redder, contracts and gets more yellow. And this allows you to see exactly how variable stars work. Yes, breathe in, breathe out. Now, I can't remember if there was anything else I wanted to add to this. I think I'm actually pretty happy with my code. So the next thing I need to do is work on figuring out how to get it so that other people can get at my code. Yes, it's slower than the Breathe app on your Apple Watch. I can speed it up if you'd like. It's actually it's actually not that hard to change things like that. So does anyone have any suggested changes at this point in the modeling of the variable star? Faster would be less zen. That is true. That is true. Well, for this particular star, it's 40 seconds. So it's 40 seconds rather than years. But for Cepheid variable stars, which is what I'm modeling here, it takes a matter of days to tens of days for a star to go through this kind of cycle. The sun does vary as well. It doesn't vary this dramatically. Our sun doesn't have this kind of general wave. You can build up all sorts of different oscillations on a variable star. Different kinds of variations have different periodicities, and different size stars have different periodicities. Cepheid variables, like the one I've modeled here, vary over days to tens of days. Pulsating stars that are smaller, called RR Lari stars, these also pulsate with the entire star getting bigger and smaller. They pulsate anywhere from a few hours to a little over a day. Now, with our sun, its pulsations don't involve the entire star going in and out at once. Rather, the waves that build up inside the star are causing different parts of the star to go in and out at different points in time. And we have to look at pieces of the sun to see this part is getting brighter, this part is getting fainter. It's a much more complicated system. Let me switch views and I'll go ahead and see. Actually, let me just pull over a blank browser window. I'll see if I can go ahead and find a simulation of suns oscillations. I don't know if I spelled that correctly. Solar oscillations. Here we go. Wow, this is cheesy. Okay, I don't want to hear it. I just want a video. I just want a video. You're not giving me a video. Okay, let's go back. Let's click on the video. No, it still didn't work. Let's go to adding the word YouTube. Oh, internet. Let's just put solar oscillations. My Google foo is poor today. It's watch the sun boil, helioseismology. I have no idea why I can't find this video. And I'm failing to find a video on the internet, and I feel like this is very meta and very bad all at the same time. Let's try this video. Okay, here we go. Now you want me to download something. I don't want to download something. I just want to watch a video. Okay, I'm going to scroll this sideways because I'm not going to search YouTube while you're watching. And I'll look up solar oscillations on YouTube. Solar oscillations. Here we go. And of course, it's not actually showing me the solar oscillations. Oh man. Okay. I don't know why there's no good videos of this. We made videos of this when I was in graduate school, and the internet was much worse back then. I guess all of the cool stuff went away. So here's a cheesy video. This is greatly exaggerated, but these kinds of waves are the kinds of waves that we have on the sun right now. And before Chris starts talking, I'm going to move that. So our sun has all these crazy patterns of oscillation built up on the surface. And I missed a bunch of the chat. Let me pull the chat back over. Thank you, Nancy. Have a great night. So yes, Hanny's Warburp, you can use different kinds of oscillations to potentially predict the external behavior of the sun. It turns out we haven't actually been able to predict coronal mass ejections using solar oscillations, but we tried. Yes, the sun has standing waves. It's kind of cool. This is the kinds of things we don't normally think about. They just have such complicated waves that you have to look at the sun with high resolution to see them. So with pulsating stars, it turns out it's not the ones that have the short periods that are losing mass as a result of all of this. Myra variables. With Myra variables, they are massive, massive red giant stars that are undergoing pulsations, and their atmosphere is actually about the same thickness as the Earth's atmosphere in the outermost layers. And it's really unclear how the pulsations are staying coordinated, but they somehow are, and they're losing mass in the process. And so sometimes they breathe out and the atmosphere doesn't entirely breathe back in. Yes, showing the surface temperature and radius in real time would be a good idea. That's going to require me doing some research, so I'm going to write that down. What do you mean, Gordon, by thumbnails of a real Cepheid cycle in the corner? Because a real Cepheid cycle doesn't really look all that different from this one. They're kind of boring that way. Yes, Myra is one of those giant pulsating variable stars, Larry. Okay, note to self. Cepheid temperature V time. I will look that up so that I can add it accurately. Yes, these kinds of ways that stars die are truly amazing. When we look out and we see planetary nebula are actually the results of these final gasping breath of these dying red giant stars. And eventually all that's left behind is a white dwarf core. It's a slow, beautiful process when these stars die. So I see Hanny's Vorverp is asking, when a star gets larger, would the surrounding planets get hotter? The star itself does indeed get to be a lower temperature, but the overall light output, because the light output depends on the surface area of the star, the luminosity of the star goes up. And then if you're a planet, your proximity to the surface of the planet also decreases in a way that is noticeable at that short of a distance. So any nearby planets will have a very bad day, week, lifetime. And Fenmil, that's kind of adorable about the lack of leftovers. I do that on a regular basis. So yeah, the nearby planets, as the star expands, get toasted by the encroaching ball of fiery plasma and by the increased overall luminosity of the star as it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So death by star is a thing that occurs. What is interesting, though, is because it's the center of mass that matters for orbits, the planet's orbits don't care how big or small this planet is. Not planet, how big or small this star is. Although with the Myras that I was talking about that are losing their atmosphere, as the Myras lose their atmosphere, their mass goes down and the planets migrate further and further away. So our own Earth currently occupies an orbit that'll eventually be inside of our red giant sun. But as our sun gets older, it's losing mass over time. Our Earth is migrating further away from the sun as the sun's mass goes down. And when the sun bloats up and eats this part of the solar system, our Earth will be someplace new. And we will survive this great expansion. It would be one heck of a way to go out. Yes, build your home on the outside of the Dyson swarm, not on the inside. It is true. I want to say, Fenmil, that from memory, it's order of tens of percents. So it's actually a fairly significant change. I need to look up all of these numbers. Once upon a time, they were all in my head. And by once upon a time, I mean when I started this simulation a few weeks ago, and then it all fell back out. It was also all in my head when I did research on this stuff as an undergraduate. So this is actually related to some of the original research that I started out doing when I was a kid. By which I mean 20. Would a Dyson sphere be enough to counter the light pressure and slow the death of a star? I think that depends on your mechanical strength. Yes, Paranor, I blame the J word for everything tonight. So a Dyson sphere versus light pressure. I need that could be a very interesting set of things to work out the equations for. I don't know. I'm writing this down. That might be a really good blog post. And it's not just light pressure, it's also the mass loss in the solar wind. So you have to catch all of that. Tomorrow, pre-coffee, this set of notes is going to be so very confusing. So very, very confusing. It's not the Java gold, it's the JavaScript. I earnestly think that classes on JavaScript should be called Defense Against Dark Arts. Sorry, Big J. You did miss that Fenmil bought us lunch earlier this evening, and it's going to allow me to replace all your Starburst that I ate today, because I totally made a major dent in the Starbursts in the office. Oh, thank you, Larry. I will look that up. There was another question in here and I missed it. Scrolling back. Okay, so Hannes Vorverp asks, is there a certain chemical composition that leads to this? Sort of. There's this, let me see if I can pull up a diagram. And what's bad is I know that there's a really good diagram of this on the computer sitting on the floor in my office. Pulsating star HR diagram. Let's see if I can find this. Once upon a time, if you Googled pulsating star HR diagram, my graphic came up. But the internet was young when that was true, and it has evolved since then. Okay, so let's go with this one for now. The graphic I just tried to pull up came up in a terrible resolution. So what I'm looking for is what's called a color magnitude diagram. This is a diagram that shows where stars are plotted as a function of these core physical parameters. It turns out that stars can only have a very narrow set of temperatures and luminosities that allow them to be stable. And if you knock either one of these parameters, everything else will compensate and change where the star is on the HR diagram to keep it within these narrow bands. Now, there is in this diagram a narrow range where stars become seriously unstable. And the reason they become seriously unstable is the energy that would normally go into expanding the star out. So what normally happens, and I totally can't find one of these diagrams, so I'm just going to find a color magnitude diagram. And I'll have to explain to you where the instability strip is. Sorry, I'm getting terrible Google foo today. I didn't know it was possible for me to have such terrible Google foo, but apparently it is. There we go. So here is a diagram of different kinds of stars. Stars that are in the process of burning hydrogen lie along this, what's called the main sequence branch. You can see here's our sun right here. Now, once the stars stop burning hydrogen in their core, they initially start to collapse because there isn't light pressure balancing out against the gravity collapsing the star in. As the star begins to collapse, having run out of hydrogen in its core, it ends up igniting helium. This gets them burning along the red giant branch. Eventually, they also end up igniting a shell of hydrogen around that. All of these different types of what's getting burnt, what is undergoing nuclear fission, affects how all of this balances out. Now, normally the way the star balances itself is if there isn't enough light pressure pushing out, the star collapses. As the star collapses, it heats up, new things ignite. The star finds a new balance between gravity and light pressure. Everything in the star is gravity pushing in, light pressing out. Now, normally, what ends up happening is as the star collapses, it heats up. This uses light pressure to push the star out. But there's this particular band through the HR diagram. Roughly, it goes all the way down through the white dwarfs. It cuts a slight diagonal all the way up. And anything, sorry, I keep making a drop-down menu drop. Anything along this particular diagonal, that light pressure, instead of pushing the star out, will actually ionize the outer layers of the star instead. And by trapping the energy in the outer layers of the star, by ionizing the outer layers of the star, you end up with this reserve of energy. So instead of finding a balancing point, the star overshoots its balancing point. When the star begins to cool off, the energy that was used in the ionization, the atoms resort down to a lower energy level. They give those photons back off. This kicks the system again. So it's like pushing a swing. This ionization and release of the energy of the ionization drives the pulsation. So there is a specific band of temperatures and pressures that this happens along. Now, exactly where it occurs, there's some wiggle room in this, and that wiggle room is due to the compositions of the stars. So aurolaries are very metal poor stars. Cepheids are fairly metal rich stars, and they are standard candles. Somebody asked that earlier. Wait, Pamela in 160p. I don't know what that means. You're confusing me, Keeper of Maps. I'm going to finish answering this question and then read the chat because you're confusing me. Anyways, so there's some wiggle room in this range of densities, pressures, temperatures that this occurs at, and that wiggle room is due to the metallicities of the stars. It turns out if you have a higher metallicity, this means that you have a lot more atomic transitions taking place. That changes how your star cools off. It changes the atmospheric, the way it radiates light, and all of these changes create a variety of different things. I'm showing that I'm going out at better than that. Okay, so Big J is getting 1080. So that tells me that I'm not the one who's going out with bad bandwidth. Okay. Catching up on the chat. I appreciate the stumpy foot, Keeper of Maps. Okay, going back. Rock and roll saved tubes. I'm so confused. Pascal was a computer language that got me an A in high school, and as near as I can tell, wasn't useful for anything else. But that may just be me. Oh, wow. You used, dang. Oh, yeah, FedMail. Okay, you did them for your dad. That I make sense of. I actually was given punch cards by my dad as something I could draw on when I was a little kid. So that's for me what punch cards were good for, was for drawing. I think I basically got all of my dad's old programs as drawing paper. Um, I don't know why I was buffering Keeper of Maps. I have no idea. Um, oh, Big J, the idea that quantum computers requires incrementing by primes hurts my head. Yes. Yes. More stumpy feet. Thank you, Paranor. I'm overly excited by stumpy feet. So it turns out that guitar amplifiers with vacuum tubes actually sound way better. There are reasons. I don't know the reasons. My husband knows the reasons. I'm sure he has told me the reasons. I don't remember the reasons. They do sound better. I remember Delphi. But yeah, that's all I can say. I like the city better than the company. Okay, I did not know there was any shenanigans going on with light pressure except with pair instability supernova. There's lots of shenanigans with light pressure. It is the key to what makes stars do all the crazy awesome things they do. Quantum computers won't be a real thing for a long time. They did finally get up to 70 something qubits of processing, which means they're starting to get to the point that they're almost useful, but it's still a while. Delphi still exists. I did not know that. That's terrifying. 72. Thank you, Gold. So it was 72 qubits was the new release of the quantum computer they had. Anyways, this has been an hour of Pamela babbling on the internets. Googling punch card machines sounds kind of meta, FenMill. Yes, there are still COBOL programmers, Keeper of Maps. This is, again, because of the financial sector. Legacy systems, that's a thing. My husband is a Flex developer because the medical industry is still using Flex. So no language ever actually dies. They just have fewer and fewer speakers. Thank you, Larry. That's awesome. So yes, this episode of Cosmic Quest Office Hours is brought to you by Pamela has not caught up to her time zone yet. Thank you so much for your patience. As I said, I got back from Israel on Sunday. I leave for Japan on Thursday. I will be streaming from Japan. I'm taking all of my equipment with me. Oh, Uncle Bill just mentioned that Horizon Psi said that sound waves pass through a star faster than photons. That's one of those tricky things. So let me try and make sense of that. A sound wave does not include an individual particle passing all the way through the sun. It is how vibrations, like physical pushing on stuff, passes through the star. Now, the problem for an individual photon is individual photons don't like to stick around. So they'll go a little ways, they'll get absorbed into an atom, they'll get re-emitted in a new direction, but it's probably actually a different photon unless you want to really get into philosophy, because the original particle got absorbed. It's a new photon that got released. And so if you want to follow the energy, that individual energy will get random walked through the star. And it's that lack of a direct pass that takes bazillions of years. I don't remember the exact number. I think millions is the right order of magnitude. So individual photons don't actually make it all the way through the sun. The packet of energy gets absorbed and re-released and absorbed and re-released. Its color is changing. Its energy is changing as it gets used in different ways. But you can follow until eventually a photon of much less energy is finally released from the surface of the star. It takes a long time. The sound wave, it just is a propagating wave that goes all the way through the star. So two totally different things. Yes. Did that answer your question, Drop Bear? I hope it did. Anyways, I am going to aim to broadcast some sort of a summary, probably late in the Japanese day, each day. It is currently 9 p.m. here in the Central Time Zone. I'm looking to see what the current time zone is in Japan. It is currently 11 a.m. So my guess is that it will be early morning US time, late Japanese time that I'll be trying to stream each day. Japan is not 180 degrees away. It is essentially another third of the way around the planet. I am essentially visiting each of the quartiles of the planet this month. I don't recommend this if you like yourself. I'm glad I was able to answer your question, Drop Bear. So anyways, expect my next broadcast to be late in the day, Saturday in Japan, which is, I think, early in the day, Saturday here in the United States, but the international date line confuses me. So watch my Twitters. I will be tweeting all the things all the time. And hopefully I will see all of you from the other side of the world. And I don't expect to be any more caught up on time zones. So expect lots of silliness and science. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Anyways, I need to create a command for time zones. I don't have one of those. That's a good idea. Oh, I'm sorry that you'll still be housebound, Gold, but I'm glad that you'll still be around to hear everything. We need to catch up, Gold. It's been too long. Yes, silly science is the best science. No, not one time zone to rule them all. That would mean the planet stopped rotating and we'd have giant convective weather. That would be bad. Yes. Anyways, I miss you too, Gold. So Gold is a real life friend who happens to live in New Zealand, which is like my favorite country. And we actually got to watch the sunrise with a seal that we randomly chanced upon when I decided I wanted to see the sunrise in New Zealand. I just love the fact that in Wellington, you can walk to the beach and just randomly find a seal. Yes. Anyone remember Intermittent Time by Swatch? No, I don't. Anyways, I'm babbling. I am completely babbling. Yes, seal of approval of that dawn. And yes, that is where Xena and hobbits are from. New Zealand is fabulous in every possible way. And I'm going to hang up on this particular stream. I still have one more stream to go this evening on a different channel. Follow along on Twitter and you can catch it all. And we're not going to go to base time of 10. That hurts. Anyways, before you distract me anymore, You are all fabulous. To all the new people watching tonight, give the channel a follow. Once I'm done traveling, we do streams like this, usually a bit more coherent, every Tuesday night. And I hope to see many of you in future weeks here. And if you follow, you will get reminders. So thank you. And wherever in the world you are, first of all, thank you for staying for my ramblings. And thank you for your support, Paranor, and everyone else. Thanks for your chatter. Thanks for your company. And have a fabulous morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you may be in the world. I'll talk to you all later. Bye-bye.